All right, good afternoon or good morning or good evening, depending on what time zone you're in. And welcome everyone to today's Move America webinar, From Capability to Contract, an inside look at DoW's LYNX platform. My name is Rick. I'm the strategic communications lead for Move America, which is a fancy way of saying that I'm the guy who shows up on your screen and please asks you to use the Q&A panel. We're really glad you're here. So let's go ahead and get into it. A quick bit about who we are, just in case you're new to Move America, because if you are new to Move America, it sounds like we're either a moving company or we make 1980s aerobics videos. And I promise it's neither. Although if it were, I'd absolutely buy some leg warmers. So I want to let you know, Move America is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are dedicated to strengthening the U.S. defense industrial base and the manufacturing base by connecting those innovative companies, technologies, and capabilities with the mission needs of the Department of War and its partners. Our whole thing is pretty simple. America's security depends on a healthy, resilient, and accessible industrial base, one where non-traditional businesses and suppliers and emerging tech providers have a real shot at getting in the game. So we host conversations like this one, where we bring in the people building the platforms, writing the policies, and doing the actual work. And we let you ask the questions you'd normally have to buy somebody 3 drinks at an industry happy hour to get answered. You're welcome. Don't have to buy anybody anything. Now, a few housekeeping items before we get started, and I promise to keep this shorter than a Marvel post-credit scene. We are recording today's session, and Move America is headquartered in the lovely two-party state of Maryland. So, gonna let you know, by staying here, you agree to be part of a recorded webinar. If that is not acceptable to you, go ahead and drop off. We will make sure that you go ahead and get the recording. That's a guarantee. We promise that we'll do that. No hard feelings at all. Your microphones and cameras are muted. Now, this is for everyone's protection, including mine, because we've seen some stuff that we just don't want to see on webinars sometimes. You could drop your questions into the Q&A panel at the bottom of your screen anytime. The chat is disabled for this webinar. You have to use that Q&A panel. You could put that in. Don't wait till the end. We will save time for Q&A at the end, and we'll get to as many as we can. But we can also answer things as we're going along, hopefully. Now, if you want to share this with a colleague who you think needs to hear it, like I said, you're going to get a link to the replay afterwards, because sharing is caring, or as my kids would say, well, actually, my kids would never say that. Never mind. And finally, again, this is a conversation, not a TED Talk. We want you to engage. We want you to ask. We want you to walk away from all of this smarter. All right, now on to why you're really here. It is not for my dad jokes, though I do appreciate the 4 of you who may have laughed. Earlier this month, the Department of War's Office of Small Business Programs and Office of Industrial Base Growth launched LYNX. This is a new digital platform built to help businesses navigate defense readiness, show off their capabilities, and connect with mission-aligned opportunities. Think of it as the DoW saying, hey, non-traditional businesses and suppliers, we see you, we want you, and here's a front door that doesn't require a decoder ring. Which, if you spend any time at all trying to break into the defense market, you know it's kind of a big deal. To walk us through what LYNX is and how it came together, more importantly, what it means for your business, we are joined today by Danielle Shaw. Danielle is Vice President of Product Commercialization at Eccalon. She has been right in the middle of LYNX's development and rollout, and she brings the kind of combo you don't see often: real product leadership, deep defense market chops, and a clear-eyed sense of what companies actually need to win in the space. She's the right person to take us inside this thing, not just what it does, but how to make it work for you. And lucky for us, thankfully for us, she said yes to presenting this webinar. Danielle, thanks so much for being here. The floor and the Q&A panel are all yours.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that awesome introduction. And I hope I can live up to all that you just said. So first off, just to start out, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background of kind of where LYNX derived from and kind of the starting points of everything. And so we look to solve the problem of, bringing innovators into the industrial base, really bringing those technologies into the missions for the Department of Defense at the time, right? And we were working on kind of building that smarter, faster bridge, right? How do we improve those connections? And so as you start to think about this problem, it's not a one-stop shop kind of thing where you can solve it all with one application. And so what we started thinking about is that there's different needs from different stakeholders. And this is kind of the premise of where we started with this application. So if we go on to the next slide, it kind of talks about the government's view and the non-traditional suppliers view, right? So from the government's perspective, you don't have a lot of visibility, right, into these pre-qualified suppliers, like people that you really can understand, can achieve the work, can actually achieve the capabilities that you're trying to reach, and understanding how we can onboard those people and get them competitive and ready to be able to compete within the process that we have established within the government space. And from the non-traditional suppliers view, right, there's a lot of challenges with even understanding like where to go, right? Just like Rick was talking about, it's, a high cost. You have to know and have expertise and understand the acquisition environment. You have to know where to go to find the opportunities. Sometimes you have to connect with multiple websites, multiple systems, multiple offices before you even get a foot in the door to have a conversation. And then after that, you have to understand how to be competitive. And that can all be challenging, right? And if you don't have understanding of that and knowledge of that, it's very difficult to get into that space. And so looking at those challenges, if we go to the next slide, it kind of created this vision of building a data-driven framework where industry advisors and government can all share a single view of readiness, risk, and opportunity. And what that means is really building a platform type of approach from the perspective of, there's multiple applications that all work together to achieve this goal. And so industry, underneath the LYNX platform, industry has a application called LYNX Expanse, which we will show you today. And that's very focused on capability development, understanding and sharing of your core capabilities, having a roadmap, understanding opportunities that are available to you, and being able to connect effectively with all the things that you need to do. The government side has an application called LaunchPoint, where they will actually be able to connect with vendors, achieve market research support, have a overgoing, DIB readiness dashboard for their perspective and things that they need for their perspective. And then we have Alliance, which is the advisory organization's application. And it's being used effectively right now by small business development offices and Apex accelerators. And that's where advisory or counseling offices or people that are trying to support businesses as they do this, go through this process, can engage with businesses effectively. So those different applications, along with the subset of readiness platforms such as Project Spectrum or Valiant Cloud or our ClearPath readiness certification processes, all of those things are part of the LYNX platform as a whole. So you're focused on a platform, not a product that's going to support your needs. Okay. So that being said, that's kind of the premise of the background of LYNX. And we're going to jump over to the live demo now. All right. So as you start out, this is going to be LYNX Expanse. Okay. So this is the industry facing application within LYNX. Okay. And once you sign up, you will align to your company, right? So all users of a company will effectively be able to access this same profile, right? And be organized effectively within that process to see what your company is doing, because everything centers around the company's needs, right? So when you start to do this, it's AI supported. You will be asked to provide like marketing material or videos or different information that will help generate this profile for you. So as much as you put in, you'll get, the AI will support creation of this profile for you, but then you can go in and make edits. So you'll have an overall capability statement at the top. You'll be able to enter in your products and services and all the details specifically about each offering that you have. You'll be able to see and visualize your core competencies and differentiators. You'll have your points of contact. And if you are registered in SAM, it will pull all the information automatically from that certification into your profile. But if you're not, that's okay. You don't have to be registered in SAM to be able to be active within the LYNX platform. Okay. So you will have to provide the other information, and then you will be able to establish your profile that way in lieu of being established in SAM. And then once your SAM profile is up and running, then you would be able to have that access to that data as well. one of the main things that we try to do here when you're starting out is really building out those core competencies and offerings. So on the company profile, you will be asked to kind of go through this process of creating like tags associated with your company. And so the idea here is that we want to understand not just what you do at a top level, but like really what part of the supply chain are you in, right? If you provide a service, are you a provider of that service? Do you provide a specific part of that? It gets into more granular version than the NAICS codes does, right? So you have this really high level thing that you can build a truck, drive a truck through, right? How do I start to define that into things that actually make sense and map that to actual words within an opportunity more effectively so that I can provide better matches? And so we start to look at nouns, adjectives, verbs. If you are a manufacturer of something, do you are you a fabricator? Do you do a specific thing? Do you are you a third party seller? What is it that you actually perform within that realm of that market? Okay. We also want to track your core values, your differentiators, anything that you can have from your key capabilities. And you can, as you enter these things, you can prioritize them so that ultimately you can have them on your word cloud as main things that are showing on your profile that everybody sees. The next thing we do is kind of that translation of industry and market identification. So we look here at, we do speak in the language of NAICS codes for the government purposes, but one of the things we try to do is bridge that gap. And so we do a lot of mapping between the NAICS codes and commercial industry areas for you. So if you make a choice of a NAICS code into the system, or if you have a primary or secondary NAICS codes that are selected within your profile, it will automatically populate the associated commercial industry areas, and then you can choose from those to align to your profile, right? So maybe research and development is a large, overarching market space, but it'll give you the details within that so that you can build the sub factors within that for your commercial industry areas so that you can actually be more definitive about what you actually provide. We also look at critical technology areas or mission areas or different agencies that you've worked for so that you can start to really populate that profile in a way that government users start to look for, right? And so we can kind of guide you to help make sure that that language translation is happening and we can get the best matches for your company. So once all this stuff is kind of created, there's a lot of different things here on the left-hand side that are parts of the profile. And it was never meant to be a linear process, right? You're not supposed to go through and fill out every single question. That's not the goal here. The goal is to get through those first initial critical things, and that these detailed questions that are on the left will help you to achieve specific goals, and they are geared towards pathways, which I'll talk about in a second, that will help a company achieve specific actions they're trying to achieve for the department, and they go towards answering those questions at that time. So going back to the dashboard. One of the things that we provide is a roadmap, right? So again, the goal here is to provide return on investment to companies just for being able to engage within the system. So right out of the box from your profile, you will be able to export that profile into a slick sheet type of format. So you'd be able to utilize that for outreach purposes. You'll also be able to share that at like industry events and different things like that. It has a public view of that. That's just one purpose of your outreach profile, right? So it'll show just those public, what you've chosen to be publicly available information. So you can use it if you're at a conference or you're doing outreach, and you can share, hey, this is what my company does electronically. It makes it very easy for companies to do that. The other thing we do provide is a roadmap, and this is AI generated matches and information based on your capabilities. And so this roadmap is intended to really provide like goals in direction for you that's really targeted towards the things that you need and your readiness levels. So we want to meet you like kind of where you're at. So we look at it from a market analytics perspective. Market analytics will actually provide access to a set of data related to, and it looks like the database is kind of slower in our area here. So sorry, there's an apology for how this is creating or generating. But the market analytics page will be able to actually show you a view of the obligated dollars for the government over time, right? So you can actually see per year what's being obligated, and it'll actually like walk you through that process. You can dive it down by specific agencies. It'll target for your specific NAICS codes or markets. It'll target for your ability to be able to see like different people that are achieving prime awards within that space. And the goal with that actual application is to be able to see a version of that that's available for you to dissect that data effectively and be able to see just who's competing in the space. Can I be a prime contractor? Can I be a subcontractor? Can I connect with other companies that are winning awards in that space? Or can I start to achieve other goals? And he's working on pulling this back up again because he's working on pulling up the live site. So he's pulling that up right now. The other part of the dashboard that we actually provide is a match to like other resources. So one of the things that is there as well, and he'll show you when we pulls it up again, is access to the actual training materials that are available for topics, right? So like say you have a specific topic you're interested in, you could actually access training materials that are dedicated to that specific topic. So you don't have to go searching around to multiple different websites to try to find them. The next thing that you would actually access is the ability to be able to see, oh, look, this is market analytics, so he got it up and running. So there we go. This is the live site. Okay, so underneath here, again, I'm going to go back. He'll scroll down on this. I already talked about it, but your ability to be able to see obligations by different parameters, deep dive into it and actually see these different parts of the data and trends over time. Again, this is just a common site picture of data. But let's go back to the dashboard and look at opportunities. So looking at opportunities, this one's specifically focused on all SAM.gov opportunities. AI will match you based on your capability statement to specific opportunities. And the unique part of what we do is not just looking at the overall opportunity, like at the top level, like makes code or matching that way. We actually go into the words of the attachments and pull out like specific clause language or requirements that are within the system. And we try to match those to to the companies more effectively, right? So not only can we match you by like your capabilities, but also you can look at this and filter it by submission effort level. And so this looks at the clause language and says, hey, maybe this is a commercial offering. You don't have to have certified cost and pricing data. It'll allow you to, so maybe it's a light effort to propose against, which is something that if you haven't had a lot of business experience with the Department of War, then you can actually, maybe be more effective at being able to propose against that versus something that's more heavy in nature, which would be in the sense of maybe I have multiple volumes to compete against. I need to provide certified cost and pricing data. I have to have an approved accounting system, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's more complicated and more complex to be competitive within that space. And so all we're trying to do here is make it easier for companies to dissect the thousands of results that you get back when you actually do, look at these systems to provide looks at opportunities. And we are looking to incorporate more sites of opportunity. So we are looking at forecasted opportunities, right? Anything that's like upcoming that people have posted on their forecasted sites. We're also looking at state and local opportunities since we're working mainly a lot with the Apex Accelerator offices. So we are pulling those in as well. And we are looking to include like cyber opportunities and other, areas of opportunities, commercial service offerings and OTAs and other things like that. So as we start to incorporate those data sets, we are looking to integrate more opportunities into this. But it's a great opportunity to kind of get matches based on your capabilities within the system. So going back to the dashboard, the other thing that we provide is access to networking. And really what this looks like is more connections to like other companies that you may want to partner with or team with, right? So LYNX will match possible like people that are winning primes in the areas that you're interested in or that are tangential to what you're working on. Also teaming partners that may be good areas for you to look at. But what allows you to be able to do is open up that company's profile and see the public information that they have available and see their contacts, right? So you can actually access, that company's information. Going to the government organizations, you can actually see this as well. And this kind of ties back to that starting point of the other applications within LYNX that are important, okay? So launch point is the government user application. Okay, so this is going to be, and it has not been deployed yet. We are just now deploying that to the government users. But when they get up and running, they will have access to their own organizational profile that they will maintain. And this will be a place where they can talk about what they do. It'll have their missions. It'll have information about like any opportunities that have been posted against that specific organization. And it'll also have access to like their points of contact and things like that. So you could actually request a meeting or get into the queue of actually engaging with them without having to go through 17 different websites to try to find who's the right person to talk to and then never getting a phone call back. And so the goal here is to really start to hone in on all the communication and connection points being in one place just to make it easier. Even if we're connecting out to external sites or integrating other information, the goal here is to make it easier for companies to navigate, right? So this is a one-stop shop to engage. And so you can have access to kind of the overall government information. You can access their websites and et cetera right from here. The other thing that you can do is connect to liaison organizations. And so this is advisory organizations like Apex Accelerators. So say you would like to engage with a small business office or a specific Apex Accelerator or so on and so forth. You can open this up, you can find that accelerator, and you can actually connect with them and request counseling services. Now for Apex Accelerators, these are actually active, right? Because they have active profiles within the system. And so I think we've onboarded almost 90% of the Apex Accelerator offices and are currently managing their clients within the LYNX portal. And you'll see that here in a second with Alliance. But these guys are actually engaging, so you can open their profile, see what they do. You can connect with them, see any events that they're housing, and actually be able to request counseling services. And once you do that, say you are working with a counselor, then if you go to your counseling services page, you would be able to actively see that advisor that you're working with. And because we're using the live site here, this is our profile, so you won't see it because we're not engaging on that. But you would see your current counselors, and you can work with multiple at the same time. And what's great about this is that those counselors can actually provide you recommended opportunities, events, resources, government organizations to connect with right here in the system. So if your counselor provides you recommendations, then they can engage with you and actually show those live here on the site, and you'll be able to see those recommendations that are coming directly from each of your counselors effectively. All right. So going back to the dashboard, this is kind of, again, I'm going back to the point of having a one-stop shop for all companies to be able to access multiple things. And one of the ways that we do that is through pathways, right? And so pathways are very focused, targeted, step-by-step processes to be able to do a specific thing. And this is being built out, so there's not a lot of them available right now. But in the future, there'll be things like, hey, I want to be a protege for the Mentor Protege program. How can I engage? And so there will be a pathway that specifically walks you through step-by-step, putting in your protege information as a company, like collecting all that from your profile, being able to automatically walk you through a needs assessment of what developmental assistance you might need within that program, and being able to actually connect you directly through SSO, like single sign-on through this portal to the Mentor Protege portal to be established as an interested protege. Okay, same thing with things like Project Spectrum, right? I could connect you directly to Project Spectrum through the system, and you will be able to actually engage in your cyber assessments or, understanding what your cyber needs are, and then effectively accessing the training, cyber resources or counseling services or cyber assessments that you would like to have within this system. And all of it will be here, and it'll direct you through that step by step. To show you an example of this, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Clear Path Readiness Pathway. And so this is going to be an example that we're going to click over to kind of something that's in work. So I'm going to share something with you that has not been deployed yet, but it is in work. And the Clear Path Readiness assessment really looks at level setting the definitions of readiness, both for industry and government, right? So it looks at 4 different areas. It looks at cyber readiness. It looks at foreign ownership, control, and influence. It looks at business viability and operational readiness, and it looks at acquisition readiness, okay? And it does an assessment of all 4 of those areas to help culminate, not in a pass or fail type of score, but into something that just says, hey, here's where I'm at, and here's a place where I can build like specific growth trajectories in areas that are going to help you become more competitive, based on like improving readiness or increasing different areas of that more effectively, right? Or meeting your needs for what your business goals are. And so it's just a way to help us start to make sure that you're not doing more than what you need, and you're right sizing the impact and effort that you take on for achieving working with the Department of War, right? And so to show you an example of this, we're going to talk about the FOCI readiness tool. And so this is specifically going into a dashboard that would like let you actually like process that pathway. And so to get to this dashboard, you would ultimately have kind of this overarching set of questions that would help you gauge your readiness, right? And this would look at, you could say there, this would look at like areas of, ownership and control, right? So if you're a privately owned company looking at investors or your funding streams and different things like that, and it would help you answer specific questions. But when you initiate that, in the background, our agentic AI system will go and actually derive data that'll be ongoing assessments of those risk areas. And the whole goal of this is to provide awareness to the left, right? So we want to make sure that you're aware of these risk areas, and that, hey, there may be a potential one of your employees that you never even knew wrote a paper sometime that was attached to, a foreign entity that maybe you should be concerned about. Maybe it's nothing, but it just maybe highlight it for you so that you can actually mitigate that risk ahead of time, so that when you go to get a SIVR or you go to get into the programs and they do a deep dive assessment, you will have already mitigated those risks and be effective and ready, right? So we're looking at things like ownership control structure, legal compliance, information access, looking at a supply chain network topology to be able to see if there's anything within your supply chain that's necessarily a risk, or affiliations of your employees or partners, right? That might be an issue there. Or even geographical risk, right? From a perspective of just proximity. Your organization is in proximity to another organization, so it might be a target, right? Looking at all of those things that are maybe just not things that you think about in your day-to-day activities that are important. And so being able to actually like turn that around and show that to you and have an ongoing metric for you to be able to see that risk is important. And so that's one area of the ClearPath readiness process that is happening, that would be available to you. In the future, you'll see pathways again around MPP. You're also going to see pathways for cyber. You'll see pathways for business viability and financial health, as well as acquisition readiness, which leads to specifically like competitiveness, right? And so that's kind of the overview of what LYNX Expanse provides. And I don't know if there's any questions kind of on just the Expanse portion before I kind of move over to, a new section of LYNX. But if you have any questions, I don't mind taking any right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you have questions, please make sure you're putting them in that Q&A panel. We did have one person who asked about the transcript, and we will check into that.
Okay.
All right, we'll come back to questions if you have them later.
So if there's no questions, then I'm going to share a little bit more with you about kind of the other applications, just so you guys can see kind of how that works on the other side, right? So one of those is called LYNX Alliance. So LYNX Alliance is where your advisor actually engages, okay? So again, I talked about being able to engage with your advisor. You would become a client of that Apex office, let's say, right? And so this is the view that they would have. And what's great about this is that they can actually view your profile. In the future, that advisor, if you give them permission to do so, would be able to actually help you create your profile. They can help you generate things and curate it if you choose to let them, right? You would be able to see their recommendations, and you can track information about your specific experience engaging with the Apex office right here as you go, right? So like they have specific metrics. And again, these metrics are specific for the Apex Accelerator office, that they track about how many recommendations they're providing to their clients and how much training they're providing in specific areas, so on and so forth. Our cyber advisors for Project Spectrum are also utilizing this capability as well. So on their side, they're tracking different types of metrics, right? Where it would say, hey, how successful am I helping this company to be in their cyber journey, right? What controls have I helped them implement? Have they gotten any certifications? Did they do their SPUR score? Like so on and so forth, right? But these metrics, what helps them to be able to track is that now we can actually roll that up per each counselor, per each office, per each program, so that we can show the impact that these advisory services and training that we're providing to organizations are actually providing to the companies, right? So we can track success stories or achievements that are happening and saying, hey, like these guys have actually engaged with our counselor, we provided them this amount of training, and this is helping us to increase our specific readiness initiatives in certain ways, right? So LYNX Alliance is that interface where the advisor can provide recommendations and engage with you guys from an industry perspective on a regular basis. So this is LYNX Alliance. And the last one I'm going to show you guys is called LYNX Launchpoint. And this is the government aspect, right? And so the goal here is really supporting market research, right? So the goal is to, now that we have this information, we have company profiles, we have valid, viable vendors who are actively achieving, growth trajectories supported by advisors. Now we are able to automate the market research process and really house effective vendor engagement, right, within the system. And so one of the challenges with the Department of War is that it's a large enterprise, right? And so knowledge sharing across the enterprise can be a very daunting task, right? And so the ability to be able to know, hey, maybe you've worked with the Navy and you have a very niche capability that the Air Force is not aware of, but they have a similar requirement. What this system will allow them to be able to do is share that information across the enterprise to say, hey, I've discovered a vendor in this specific space and here's their profile, right? And so it allows you to be able to share that information and gain knowledge based on work that has been done across other similar types of requirements or related types of requirements. And so this process will actually walk you through an entire market research step by step, curating specific targeted objectives and techniques that are really for that specific industry area. So I won't walk you through every single step of this process, right? But if you go through this, one of the cool things about it and the cool features of market research as a whole, right, is that it helps the government organizations to be able to effectively engage in a way that makes sense, right? So they have information to them, right? They have like data associated with, hold on one second. They have data associated with like say commerciality determinations, right? Or they have data associated with strategic market research regarding an overall market area that they didn't have before. They have identification of new and emerging vendors and technology within the space that maybe they didn't have before. And so it just puts that information at their fingertips, and it also connects them directly to the profiles that are being created in LYNX Expanse, so that they can then find those vendors and engage directly. So in the future, the system will have like housed communication, right? So maybe industry days will be, focused here, and you'll be able to have virtual events, and you'll be able to like actually connect and have meetings and get tracking back to say, hey, I sent a request in for a meeting. How did you get a response, right? Being able to actually make sure that information that information exchange is happening effectively between companies and government organizations. And so market research is going to be a huge piece of this application when it comes to LYNX. And then they will also be able to always access the vendor search capabilities so that they can see profiles and see meeting requests or different information of vendors that are interested in their opportunities or interested in engaging with them as a team. So the DIB readiness dashboard, this is the other thing that the LaunchPoint applications will provide government users. And so as we start to set up all the areas of that clear path analysis, this will help government, let's say policymakers, be able to see an overarching view of the DIB health index, right? So this is something like, say, we start to collect information on all of the, foreign ownership control and influence data. We start to be able to show maybe an overview of that, aggregate metrics to say, hey, where is this really helping? Like, what do we really need to focus on? What are some general risk areas that we're seeing as a whole from an aggregate perspective that we need to provide training, or we need to put policy in place for? Or are these policies that we're putting in place negatively impacting our acquisition readiness numbers, right? Are they impacting our ability to be able to actually turn over contracts? Let's say CM&C, for instance, right? Is it negatively affecting contract awards and our ability for contractors to be competitive because they can or cannot meet the requirements? Being able to track information like that and see that based on the clause language from an acquisition readiness perspective, or an impact of some act of God or something from a business financial health and viability perspective, will really help policymakers to make decisions when it comes to acquisition as a whole, right? And so this is some of the things that we're looking at building, in addition to other, applications that will be there in the future. But for the government side, the first most important thing is access to vendor profiles and managing that engagement back from the LYNX system, the LYNX Expanse application, so that industry can effectively engage with their government partners on a regular basis. Okay. So this will be launch point, and we're looking to deploy that to the government users within probably the next month. That'll be out, and then ultimately, you'll see market research start to go through here within the next 3 to 6 months. Is kind of the plan, but hopefully, like I said, you'll start to see those engagement and features on the Expanse side being enhanced to really allow you to request meetings or make effective connections back to the points of contact, and see actually enhanced profiles about those organizations and what they're looking for that are updated, maybe their forecasts and things like that over the next few months. So it's something that's really exciting and something we hope to see a lot of movement in over the next little bit of time within the LYNX platform as a whole. Okay, so that was a whole lot of information, and I don't know if there's any questions now, but I've kind of touched on the majority of the main LYNX applications. So I'm going to turn it back over to you guys and see if there's any questions outstanding right now. And if not, Rick, I'm going to hand it back to you.
This is your opportunity. We have the expert. The expert. When I say the expert, I mean the expert about LYNX. So again, if you've got any questions, make sure you're putting them in that Q&A panel. I'm going to go ahead and give a couple seconds. But
Rick, we do have one question underneath of your response.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see it now. All right, clarify how I am able to connect to a specific PEO on LYNX.
Okay, so underneath LYNX, like if you're on your profile and you're able to go to the government organizations, you can search different organizations. If they have contacts, there'll be points of contact listed there. Eventually, like right now, we don't have launch point out. So launch point hasn't been deployed yet, which is the government side of the application for them to be able to respond to you. In the future, you'll be able to request a meeting. So I don't know if you could can you go to the government side and show that, how you would show that profile? No, on the industry, on the live site.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go to government, go to dashboard. Yeah, government. There you go. Yeah. So you would be able to say here, you would open this up and you would see their points of contact and stuff. So we're just now building out these profiles, right? So they don't have all the points of contact and everything listed yet because this is still in work. And so once, you'll see them for some of them. So this one here has a point of contact. So you'd be able to access the specific point of contact for this PEO because it's listed because we have this person here. And then eventually there's that request a meeting button, which is grayed out right now, will actually be live, and you'll be able to actually request a meeting, which will send a message directly to the point of contact listed for this organization, and it'll be tracked within the system that you get a response. And so that's how eventually you will connect. For right now, you can see the points of contact if they're listed. You would have to manually do that outside of the system. But when launch point gets deployed, then you will actually be able to connect with them within the system. Any other questions? All right. We're very early, Rick. I was expecting more
So
questions.
Danielle, I've got a question that
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw at you, and hopefully you're not gonna throw something back at me for asking it. But I only ask this just because I know kind of, a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff. So how long did it take to develop this platform?
Oh, links. Well,
Yes.
we've been working on it for probably about a year, but there's a lot of history behind that. The people that have been working on this, like even myself, like I worked in the Department of Defense at the time, in the Office of Small Business Programs for many, many years as a government civilian, right? And so I've had long sets of experience, like just dealing with this challenge of how do I discover vendors? How do I, provide the best outreach I possibly can to small businesses and to businesses that are just trying to do business with the Department of Defense? How do I, transition technology effectively within programs? And so, our team has a large set of background and experience in that prior to this. I would say LYNX itself has been in work for about a year. We just did the deployment this year, so it's very new. This is like very, very new, very initial. And so that's why you're going to see a lot of new features and things that are going to be added over the next few months. So our recent deployment was like in January, February timeframe. Yeah.
Excellent. And then we did have a couple more questions come in. Can a business add keywords that are not auto-generated for a certain industry?
Yes. They should be able to add keywords that are not generated.
All right. And then we also have a question, will there be training specific for Apex accelerators on how to use this system?
Yes. So we are providing, so if you look at the DoW LinkedIn site, they are announcing webinars on a regular basis. So we have ongoing webinars and training sessions for government users, right, that are going to be ultimately using LaunchPoint. We do those we have them every 2 weeks, we have a webinar. So there's one for government users, there's one for Apex Accelerator offices, and then there's also a series that has just come out for industry as well. So we do all three. And so every time we onboard an Apex Accelerator office, they are able to come to the webinar. And then we also do individual specialized training direct to that office as we onboard them. And there are training materials that they can access at all times associated with how they're supposed to engage. So that, as well as our LYNX team, has an ongoing set of office hours that's available to industry, as well as Apex Accelerator offices to engage within the process. So they're there to answer any questions that you have. You can set up a 15-minute meeting with them and they will help you, or you can send a message to the help desk and they will set up a conversation with you as well.
Fantastic. Next question. Say the government needs a laser manufacturer. Is it as simple as them typing that in a search bar and my company's profile pops up?
Yeah, so underneath in the company search, so yeah, they could go in and type a keyword. So on the government side, if they go to companies, they can definitely go in and just generally search all the companies, right? So they can put in a keyword, they can look at specific company sizes or a name or different things like that. When we stand up the market research application, it'll actually be way more in depth than that, right? It'll actually bring up companies that are more targeted to that specific need they're looking for. So if they're specifically looking for a laser manufacturer, maybe it's even a specific type of laser manufacturer or whatever it is, then yes, it would surface all the profiles. So it's not ranked, it's not sorted, there's no preference from that perspective. It's just, it does provide access to all the companies that have that type of capability within their system that they can engage with.
Excellent. All right, another question came in. I started a sitter phase 2 last week. Would this be beneficial for our government contacts, such as the contracting officer, TPOC, commercialization specialist? And what would be the best way to convince them to join the platform?
Okay, so like I said, the LaunchPoint application hasn't been deployed yet. So from the government users perspective, right, they're just now going to be able to deploy into LaunchPoint maybe in the next month. So there's going to be a lot of communications going out to government organizations regarding their establishment of their LaunchPoint profiles, probably within the next month or so. So once that's established, then they would have access to the system, and they definitely should engage to be able to, directly see your profiles and information about your company and et cetera, right? And hopefully, like I said, we're looking at integrating the cyber opportunities from that site directly into this platform as well, right? So in the future, for like new opportunities, it'll be a great place for them to connect, to see companies that are showing interest in their different topic areas, right? And engage in that way in the future. So it's definitely a place where they will have more targeted guidance on engagement in the future.
Okay. We have a really long question from Chad. Chad, we're going to take that one offline since you're asking several questions that I think are going to take a little more time to answer. So we'll go ahead and pass it on to Danielle, and we'll get those answered for you, and we'll get those answers back to you, just so you understand. Any other questions coming in? So when someone wants to go check this system out, what web address should they use?
So it's lynxconnect.io is the public site. So you go there and you can actually engage in the system and create your profiles. And like I said, if you have feedback, provide it. Send us there's a little like question mark. You'll see it down here on the bottom side. You can actually provide feedback there. And also on the matches, there's a place for you to provide feedback if the matches are not actually as effective as you think they should be, right? And it tells you to say why. And the more feedback that you guys provide, then we will engage. There's going to be a couple of things that I'll tell you about a couple of changes just on from feedback that we got from the system, right? From a couple of conferences that we went to, and this is a couple of them. One of them is on the keyword search and being able to actually effectively do that more. So yes, there's some challenges with like the ability for us to be able to provide more granularity down to like really specific details when it comes to the capability statements. And so we are going to be pushing probably in the near future an enhancement to that NAICS code and tagging process that will really allow that to be a lot easier and more user friendly. So that you won't have to maybe like find specific keywords that are typed in there or find specific things, because you should be able to the intent was that you should be able to type in anything that you have and be able to populate that stuff, right? And so all of those things should be there. Also, then we're going to be adding PSCs, like SIC codes, some of other different types of codes that are going to be more that are used on other applications and with other users. So you'll see those additions as well. So those are some of the features that are going to be changed out really soon that you should be seeing. Also along the guides of, like I said, new pathways. So I would be definitely looking for those. Like there's definitely, I think the MPP pathways are next up on the list. Also, even something like, looking at the CRMN, type of manufacturing network that the Department of War is doing and engaging in that process. Or, like I said, the readiness features, FOCI is going to be out in the near future, and it follows slightly behind that by cyber readiness. So those are things that you're going to be seeing on the industry side soon. But I encourage you guys to give feedback. And if you do have challenges, write it on the help desk ticket, because we do take those and we turn those around really quickly. So if you can't do something, or you're challenged with certain things, or the admin structure for the company thing isn't working for you, or permissions, whatever it may be, engage with that help desk, because our team will get back to you. They're very responsive, and they will support you, and they will make changes directly to the system as you need it if you have a challenge. So they will do that.
Very good. Very good. And yeah, we did just have a follow-up question on the keywords, so I would highly recommend using that help desk. A couple more just to get them in. Would you consider in-person training and or guidance for non-traditional businesses to register in LYNX? Some companies are not consistently online, so they may not be aware of this amazing platform. Well,
Yes,
that's kind of why we're having this webinar.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And like I said, too, we do have office hours, right? So our team takes individual meetings with companies all the time. As if people have challenges or questions. I mean, we've had everything from just people that are just not technologically savvy. They just don't get online all the time, to people that have really challenging, more complex companies that really, want to build out an effective profile and want to have help from that perspective, right? So I encourage you guys to reach out. We definitely will respond. We have multiple webinars. Like I said, the Department of War is hosting a series of those in addition to this one, and lots of other ones that the Department of War is hosting, associated with specifically providing industry feedback and information about LYNX. But we do have individual office hours and support as well.
Great. And then another question that just came in, is there a difference from what the client sees versus what the advisor sees on our side, or will everyone have access to everything?
Okay, so everybody has access to the same searches, right? So they see opportunities, companies, government organizations, events, resources, etc. Everybody sees those and they're all the same. The only difference in their view is that the advisor sees a client management view, right, on Alliance. So it's more focused around being able to provide recommendations to companies versus the use case of companies being in the system using Expanse. And their goal is to have access to opportunity information, right, and feedback from their advisors. So they access the same information, but their use cases and views are different, so that they're more suited to the purpose that they're trying to achieve within the site.
Excellent. All right. Checking quickly. I think that is it for our questions. So we'll go ahead and wrap that up. I want to say, Danielle, thank you genuinely. You gave us a behind the scenes look at LYNX that you can't get from a press release or a landing page. And hopefully we're all walking away smarter for it. I like to think I would be. But at my age, the brain can only hold so much information, but I guarantee I did learn a few things today. So definitely appreciate you and your entire team trusting Move America with this conversation. So again, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. We're happy to be here. And like I said, if we can answer any questions or do anything, we will. We're always looking for good ideas or feedback to make the system better. So let us know what you hear back.
We definitely will. So I also want to give a big thank you to Jonathan Metz from Eccalon, who's been right alongside Danielle, literally, in bringing LYNX to life and making today's session happen. Jonathan, I have to tell you, you're the kind of guy every project needs and the kind of guy that every webinar host appreciates, the one who actually makes the trains run on time. So again, thank you.
Appreciate it, Rick. Thanks.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And speaking of people who make things run, fun fact, today, April 28th, is National Superhero Day, which is convenient because I happen to work with one, and we're going to give her a shout out. Meg Pace, our strategic communications superhero here at Move America, is the reason today's webinar happened, ran smoothly, and didn't end with me on screen wondering why nobody could hear me. So Meg handled the logistics, the prep, the panic, all of it. And I do mean all of the panic. But she makes it look easy. The cape's invisible, but the rest of us see it. So Meg, thank you.
Thank you.
You know what they say, not all heroes wear capes. Some of them wear headsets and run the show. So now 2 quick things before we let you go, and I promise these are worth your time. First, LYNX. Remember, if anything you heard today made you think, okay, this could actually move the needle for my company, don't let that feeling die in your inbox, okay? Head over to lynxconnect.io, create your profile, run the assessment, start putting the platform to work. You heard Danielle, readiness turns into action when you actually do the thing, so do the thing. Second, she mentioned Project Spectrum. If LYNX is your front door to the defense market, Project Spectrum is the security system that will keep you in the building or keep others out. They are the Department of War's endorsed cybersecurity platform for non-traditional businesses in the defense industrial base and beyond. They offer that free training, those tools, those resources to help you build cyber readiness. I know a lot of folks on the Project Spectrum side. I work with them to host their webinars until they fire me. But I will tell you that they help you get to CMMC compliance and they protect the work you're trying to win. You can find them at projectspectrum.io. Bookmark it, use it, tell a friend. Now, because here's the truth. I'm going to tell you right now, you can have the best capabilities in the world, but if your cyber posture isn't there, you're not getting through the door, LYNX or otherwise. The two go together like peanut butter and jelly. or Hall & Oates before they started suing each other. Just pick your reference. They're both kind of correct. So again, a final thank you to everyone who joined us live today. You asked questions, you stuck around to the end. We do appreciate that. Thank you so much. We don't take your time for granted. Keep an eye on your inbox, on our social media, on our YouTube page for the recording. Watch this space for what we've got coming up next. Until then, this has been Rick with the last name that looks like somebody dumped a Scrabble set all over the floor and kicked a few tiles around. I'm the strategic comms guy from Move America saying thank you so much for joining today. Stay ready, stay connected, and remember, thank a superhero today. Capes are optional. Take care, everyone.
If you still have questions, just shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to connect with us on LinkedIn for monthly newsletters and webinar updates. And check out our website for even more resources and ways to get involved. Thanks for watching.